Hi, I'm Kelsey with In Bloom Felt Studio, and today I will be teaching you how to make a felt poinsettia. This video will show you the assembly of the cut pieces only. You can find the SVG and PDF file in my Etsy shop, or the SVG and deep edge die with benzydesign.com. Let's get started. The materials needed for this project are red, emerald, and fern wool blend felt from Benzy, 18 gauge wire, 22 gauge wire, wire cutters, fabric scissors, red fabric marker, floral tape, a hot glue gun, and hot glue. Now on to the assembly. Okay, so the first step for your poinsettia is to make that lovely green and red centerpiece. So take your piece that looks like this. This is using the fern wool blend felt from Benzy, and then add a line of glue on the bottom edge and fold it in half along that long side. So then you'll end up with a piece that looks like this. And a quick side note, if you did hand cut your felt and you're starting out with this rectangle, to achieve this, all you're going to do is fold it over with glue first, and then you'll use your fabric scissors to evenly cut some snips along this unglued edge. So use your scissors and just space them out equally like this until you reach the end. So next you'll attach this to an 18 gauge wire, line it up on the second loop almost to the top but not quite, and then you'll add some glue down the center and then fold the first loop over and pinch it tightly and then wait for that glue to dry. So I've sandwiched that wire in the middle so you won't be able to see it poking through the top. My glue is dry, and then continue rolling it up. I always add some glue on the bottom so it does not slide off. And I'm going to set this aside for a moment until that dries. Okay, my glue is set now, so next we'll add some color to the very top of these loops. This is a cherry red fabric marker I got from Benzy, and I absolutely love it. I think it really makes the center of your poinsettia pop. So you'll just kind of pinch this together and then color on the very tops of your loops until you add that pretty red. Okay, that's how it looks at the end. I really love that step. I think it's my favorite part about making this flower. Okay, so now we're going to prepare all of our petal pieces, and I've sorted mine into different piles according to their size. So you should have 3 of each of your first 4 smallest petals, and then your largest petals you'll have 5 pieces. Take your 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to cut off a roughly about 6-inch section. And we're going to add this wire to your petals. So I'm going to demonstrate on the first one. On all of your petals, you'll find that the roundest piece is going to be the bottom, and then the pointier side is going to be the top of your petal. So when we fold this over our wire, I just want to show you first before I add the glue. It's rounded on the top, but if you pinch these sides and you meet perfectly in the center, it creates that perfect poinsettia tip. So I always start with the tip of my petal, and then I work my way down as I fold it. So add a little bit of glue to the top first, using my index finger to hold that in place. Going to pinch at the top really hard and then work your way down. I added a little bit too much glue and I had some glue poke out, but if that happens, just use your fabric scissors to cut that piece off. It's a lot easier to do that on the very smallest piece. So this is still folded over, and I'm going to keep it in this position and set it aside. as I work my way through all of the petals, and then we'll open them up once the glue has dried. And once your glue has dried on all of your petals, it's time to go ahead and open them up. And to do this, you're just going to push the back of the wire up and push those leaves out. So there's my nice poinsettia tip, and I have a line down the center of my petal, which looks really nice, and it's just gonna look fantastic once they're all added to it. So go ahead and open up all of your leaves. If you need to add a little bit of extra glue to cover the wire, you can do so, or cut off any little bits of glue that you see, and just keep all of them in their separate piles according to their size. So now we can add our petals onto our poinsettia. So tear off a long strip of floral tape, and then as you pull on this, it's going to activate that sticky wax. So I like to pull on it as I'm adding my first petal on. Take your center and your first smallest petal and line that wire up right along the outside. Pinch it with 2 of your index fingers and your thumb, and then you can start wrapping your tape around. So the way I add my floral tape at the very beginning is just by wrapping around a few loops until I make sure it's secure. So I do that in the same spot, okay? And it feels like it won't slip off now. So I'm going to line up my first 3 petals evenly, like the points of a triangle around my center, adding them one at a time and securing with the floral tape. Next, we'll add our next largest piece, our second smallest, and you're just going to line these up in between your first layer of small petals. So add those. They're going to be just slightly lower than our first layer. Okay, and just as a reminder, I'm pulling on this tape as I'm wrapping it around, which makes it sticky. So position them back where you would like them. So now they're perfectly in between. And next we can add the next largest size. And the same thing, we're just going to add it a little bit lower than that second layer, in between the petals of the second layer. So now I have my first 3 layers, so my small set of 3, my next largest set of 3, and my next largest set of 3, and they're all offset in between the petals that are right above it. Okay, you can probably guess what's happening next. Your next largest size, and you'll put them in between the petals above it. And then I'm just kind of going back and positioning them once I have my tape wrapped around. Okay, I need a little bit more tape for my next layer. And now we'll just evenly spread your 5 largest petals, sort of like the points of a star. Just space them equally all around. And that will go a little bit lower than the layer above it. All right, so now all of my petal pieces have been added and it's looking so good, but it's gonna look even better once we add our leaves on. So I'm just going to set this aside for now, and then we are going to do the exact same thing we did for the petals, except with your leaves. So clip off a section of your 22 gauge wire, and we're going to add that down the center of the leaf, gluing it and folding it over, and then once that glue dries, we'll open them back up. Okay, so now that your leaves are glued and folded and the glue is dried, we're going to open up our leaves. Now we can add them onto our flower. So you'll add your first 3 leaves like the points of a triangle, spaced out evenly, and then you'll do your next set of 3 spaced evenly between the petals or the leaves of the first set. Continue wrapping your tape down the length of your stem. And then I recommend clipping your tape about 1 inch above where the tape stops. And then I find that that makes it so that the tape does not unravel later. I'm going to be adding my poinsettia to a pot, so I like to keep my stem shorter, but you can keep it long if you're adding yours to a bouquet. Or there's other ways to style it, like in a wreath or making a holiday centerpiece. So this is your finished poinsettia, and all of the leaves are on individual wires, so you can bend and style them. Here she is. Now you know how to make a felt poinsettia, and I would love to know how you style yours, so please let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and follow along with more tutorials. Thanks for crafting with me.